Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another spooky episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Mandy, starring one Mr. Nicolas Cage. John.
Oh, Mandy.
I know Joe's not here. This is a bummer.
I know.
Joe's stuck on the train.
It was a good effort. I appreciated it.
Joe's stuck in the train for what could potentially have been the most musical episode of the year, but we'll see if he makes it tonight. I can tell you who is joining me tonight. First up, from Indiana, he's a vapor. Please welcome Casey to the show.
Hi!
Convicted vapist. Next up on the show, he is the business manager at Bloody Good Horror. Coming to you, you wouldn't guess this based on his plain white undershirt he's wearing, but he lives in the fancy Manhattan area of New York City. Please welcome John Sterners to the show.
Hello, Eric. True story. I'm pretty sure this is one of my wife's white t-shirts that got mixed in with mine, and so it's actually a lady's white t-shirt. I would say it's fancier than most of my white t-shirts.
Yeah. My wife is horrified by my undershirts. Like, you wear undershirts for a few months, and then you basically just have to take them out back and torch them.
They're like yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
real gross.
yes, but like, would you rather that be your regular shirt? Like, that's why
Yeah,
you
no.
wear an undershirt.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's true.
I have thought of that,
I see
actually.
your point.
And last up, joining us tonight, the Dark Priestess of Bloody Good Horror. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
Cece, you're visiting Salem this Halloween, right? Isn't that true?
Yes, I am visiting Salem the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And then I am also visiting New Orleans for Halloween 2 weekends after that.
Damn.
I'm trying to like really make it a Halloween season.
Are you going to visit the Baphomet statue at the Satanic Church?
I'm kind of tempted now. Like that's a huge deal for them. So, you know, I
Big
do have
get.
a car and I'll be driving, so maybe I can make a pit stop on my way.
Big get for the people of Salem. They're all
It's-
like high-fiving.
It's a real beautiful.
We got
Of
it,
course.
guys. Baphomet.
Jesus. I meant those Satanists who now have a temple, but you know, I'm
Bat-
sure the
bat-
people of
bat-
Salem love it.
Guys, it is spooky season.
It is spooky season.
The weather is fall-like, John. Outside in New England, it smells like rotting leaves.
Oh, nice.
There
Can y'all
it's-
send that down here?
there's
Because
a-
it's still 98 degrees down here.
There's a chill in the air. I went pumpkin shopping this weekend with my daughter, Schnars. It was
Yeah.
delightful.
We have we're going on a little apple picking weekend in like I think 2 weekends from now. I am pretty stoked.
Yeah. Those
Apple
places get a little
picking.
expensive though. I do enjoy that, but it's like, hey, $20 to come and pick some apples that would have cost you $1.99.
I don't know. Apples are like not that cheap at the store. I feel like you like $1 an apple. So you pick 20 apples.
Depends on if you go
Maybe in
organic.
Manhattan.
Yeah,
Wow,
it
that's
depends on if you go organic or not. Lately, I don't, even though I probably should. But
I say you're like Mr.
I
My
know.
body's a temple. And
Well,
all.
I eat healthy foods. I just don't always buy them organic.
John,
that's
the
fair.
correct phrase is Eric's body is a wonderland.
This place was amazing though. This
fair.
little farm out in the middle of nowhere near us had like what they were calling polar bear pumpkins, which were totally white and must have weighed like 70 pounds. Like, and all kinds of weird giant.
Strong as 10 pumpkins.
Here, I took pictures. All kinds of weird giant gourds with like weird protrusions on them, and they also
That
had
sounds
like
a Baphomet pumpkin to me.
they
That's what
also
I-
had your
I was
like so this is a picture I took.
It's like, yeah, okay, great.
It's great.
That's,
They're kind of cool, honestly.
maybe text it to us.
I
don't know.
thought about buying it, but it's like it's too big. You couldn't like I would have needed someone to help me get it in my car. Then what am I
was
going
gonna
to
say,
do when I
you
get it
could-
here?
We know you can't lift 70 pounds.
Like,
so-
I'm gonna climb the stairs with that thing. I don't think so. But it was cool. It was a fun, spooky weekend. Anybody else do anything fun and spooky?
Mm,
no.
Come on, guys. What the hell's
No,
wrong
it's
with you?
I worked.
September.
I mean, it's only September.
Yeah, John,
It's still
it's-
98 degrees down here. So, I mean,
Well,
I realize
Cece-
that October is this weekend, but
Cece,
I need it to be like into October.
First of all, September counts, and if
It
you
does
guys
count.
don't recognize that, you need to get out.
No,
Second of
I
all,
totally
it's
think
going to
it
be
counts, but the
98.
fact that I could still be wearing a bathing suit doesn't make me want to like cut up pumpkins.
It's still going to be
Yeah.
98 there for Halloween, Cece. So you need to just get used to it.
I did have a pumpkin beer this weekend. I should throw
Oh,
that
nice.
out. So that was
Yeah,
my
I did
first of the
too.
season. You know,
Well,
got me a little in the mood. I got like a twinge of being in the mood.
okay.
Yeah.
I will say today I hung up a cinnamon broom in my car. So does that count?
No.
Spooky.
But-
I mean, Jesus, I'm trying.
But you know what else I did, John? I was on the Shutter there this weekend, and
Oh.
I found a new favorite found footage movie called
What?
Hell House LLC.
Yeah.
So it was in
If that would all have a spin-off show, you might be able to hear about it.
it was in the consciousness because they just released a sequel. But I
Is
saw
it like they've upgraded to S Corp in the sequel?
It's, you know what, dude? It's pretty creepy. Great visuals. It's like low budget. It's got this fun, like kind of almost Blair Witch, like held together with masking tape kind of feel to it. But it's really effectively directed. A nice little found footage gem. I highly recommend it.
Go check the Patreon stuff because there is a recent, fairly recent cinema fromage about the first Hell House. So
Yeah, and I
All
started
right.
it, and I like wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I was like, holy shit, that really won me over. It's rare for me to just watch random movies these days, A, and B, then to be like, oh, that was cool. So there
but
we
tell
go.
the people what you thought about the second one, Eric.
The Abaddon Hotel.
So the second
Yes.
one is framed around like the first one is straight up found footage. It's just like clips, you know what I mean? But the second one they
Yeah.
frame around this local morning talk show called Morning Mysteries, which is so stupid on numerous levels. But this is like
Eric's just offended as a TV person.
it's like it's maybe the worst produced fake local news thing I've ever seen. And the problem is you immediately started and you're like, I don't want to watch this movie. This is fucking terrible. Eventually, like half an hour in, they get to the found footage part, but then like every time it gets good, they cut back to the show, and it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassingly bad that part.
It's an
Me as a non-TV person enjoyed the Morning Mysteries parts for the most part, just because I liked the people they had on the show. There's a guy there who was a psychic that was wanted to try and research the Abaddon Hotel, and that guy cracked me up.
All right, hold on. I gotta throw a hard stop in here. So I'm looking up Hell House LLC 2, which is a terrible name for a movie.
No, I thought it was.
what's
I
the-
thought it was called something else.
Well, it's called the Abaddon Hotel.
Yeah,
Okay. The second listed character on the IMDb page here is a woman that works at my coffee shop that is like literally around the corner that I go to like 4 times a week.
Oh, what is? Wait, does she play the
That's
TV
amazing.
host?
She's like blonde. So in real life, she's I think Australian. Like she has like an Australian
Oh,
accent.
weird.
Her name's Jillian Gertz.
Oh, can you send me the?
And-
Can you send me the link to her IMDb page so I can see the picture?
She like I'm literally going to go into the coffee shop this weekend and be like, "Holy shit, you were in Hell House too."
Was she in only
How-
2 or 1?
No, that's the main girl, Eric, not
Oh,
the
okay,
news lady.
cool. I thought that. Oh yeah. No, she's actually really good in it. That's awesome.
I mean, she's a delightful like person at the coffee store.
She's in
so-
Ocean's 8. It says.
Yeah, I know. I gotta see Ocean's 8. I'm
Crazy
going
town.
in there this
So
weekend
you
and
just
being like,
wait.
"Yo,
Did you
how-"
know her name or do you just recognize her?
No, like I know, like she like talks to my kids, like when I go to the coffee store. I did not. I think I knew her name was Jillian, but or like at some point it came up, and I knew like all the people in the coffee store are actors or actresses. Like for the most part, they're involved in like something. I thought they were mostly in theater though, so I was like, how I would have found
she's
this out,
not
I
in any
guess.
of the fake news parts, so that's good on her. But
Well,
it's-
now I
she's
need
good.
to like go through the rest of this cast because like the odds of somebody else who works at the coffee store also being in this movie are probably like decently high.
I mean, the other cool thing about especially the first one, so like once you get to the found footage stuff of the second one, the directors are doing what they do, and it's entertaining. But the other great thing is like it's based around people putting on like a Hell House spooky haunted house kind of thing. So it's good, like, Halloween season, spooky time fun. So there you go.
Man,
Anyway,
this just like changed the whole trajectory of my weekend. I can't wait.
that took up more of the
So
show than I
excited.
intended, but people are always looking for recommendations, so I wanted to give it a shout.
Yeah.
John, the,
Yes.
the other thing happening Halloween season is that I am about to have another child.
Oh, okay, good. I thought
So-
you were going to ask me about the 5K, and I
No,
wasn't
well,
prepared.
I am, but just so people know that this is imminent. We were unsure about this week's show, but here we are.
We're in the danger zone.
The plan
Yeah.
is that we would like to have the show go on, for how long I'm absent, with guest hosts. Which
This is also a practice run for when Eric literally just like loses his mind.
I
and then
apologize for listeners who are going to have to listen to BGH without me hosting, but this is just the way it is. But
and
no, and
you're
then,
welcome.
And then I'll post-produce it, and we may not have the live streams, but we're going to try to at least get that stuff up on YouTube for you when the show goes up, so you can check it out. We apologize for that, but I hope to not be out too long, so we should be back. And I am going to see Halloween in the theaters no matter what. So
It's like your wife's like,
take
I gotta
that
go to the
baby with you.
hospital. You're like, no, you don't.
And while Eric's here making apologies for his absence and everything, I'll apologize to Eric for the changes we make to the show while he's gone.
yeah, there will be a strict syllabus that I will hand down. To whoever listens. But yeah, so that's going on, John. We also got the BGH 5K. This is going to be a virtual 5K. You will run on the weekend of the date. I don't know. I'm hoping John does.
No, I sure don't. I think it's the week before Halloween, though.
Sounds right. Let's see.
Let's just say that, and then Joe can give us a really hard time when he listens to this later.
I'm pretty
Or
sure
we'll
it is. I'm pretty sure you're right that it's the weekend before Halloween.
Ask Joe in the group chat. He's bored, stuck on a train. He'll answer quick.
Or let's just sit in silence while we
I got the
figure it out.
page. I got the page. The last weekend of October.
There you go. Okay.
Sometime between Saturday, October 27th and Sunday the 28th, go outside, run a 5K, and track your time and distance with the running app of your choice. Send us a picture, and you get entered into the race, and there's going to be prizes for the winner, John. We're making medals.
We are working on medals. We're probably also going to do some just like random fun giveaways for anyone who participates. So, look for that.
So there you go. And if you're a patron, you can hop on Slack. Everybody is in the fitness channel, kind of giving each other support. And
what's the name of the channel? It's like fitness something something.
It's just like
Fitness, etc.
There you go. Okay.
But like Sophie was in there this weekend. She took a spill running and was just kind of bummed out about it. And then everybody just came in and was just telling their stories of destroying themselves on runs. And
someone posted a funny video of a lady falling on the ice while running.
That was me. That was me.
That was good.
I can't believe you guys have never seen that. That's legendary. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we can help you get through it. And if you think it's like, oh, we're all runners, like I run really slow, and I'm not sure I'm even going to be able to run the 5K. So, but I'm trying, John.
I was going to add, we had a bunch of new patrons this week. So welcome, new patrons. It's a delight to have you. And for everyone else, if you're hearing this and you're wondering, what does it mean to be a patron? Head on over to bloodygoodhorror.com or patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. There's some fun stuff. And just being in the Slack, I think, is a lot of fun. But even at the $1 level, you're supporting the show and you get access to all of the spinoffs. So we posted Behold an Electric Terror, what I like to call Electric Terror, because I think Behold an Electric Terror is too long. But no, I love this guy.
What if we called it? What if we called it E.T.?
E.T. But we posted an episode, a very special Halloween Boy Meets World episode for patrons.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So
I think, are we talking the Scream one?
I believe it's the one that has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. So I assumed that it was more to do with.
I think it's kind
of
both. It's kind of like because that was kind of like around the same time. It's Boy Meets World, John. That's a jam.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool. That's great. Spooky time fun. Cece, will you be partaking in any ritual sacrifices during the season?
I am planning my annual, ladies' night where we cover my. I'm sorry.
Where you get your coven together and you guys put hexes on people. Yeah.
Yes.
I recall from last year.
Yes. So instead of my friend's house, it's happening at my house this year. So I've got to cover my entire living room with plastic, which should be interesting. So.
Is this
Wait,
like a
this is
Dexter
like all a
situation?
joke, right? Like we're joking.
I mean, we're cutting up pumpkins. I mean, we're carving pumpkins, so I gotta cover my floor. But I just
Okay.
like placing it that way because it
Yeah.
sounds better.
I'm not
No,
gonna lie.
fair.
I'm really excited to be able to carve a pumpkin with my daughter this year because she's old enough where like I can open
Yeah,
it up for her and just let her like get in there. It's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna roast pumpkin seeds for her?
Yeah, actually, I roasted squash seeds this weekend because they're basically
Ooh.
pumpkin seeds. They were delicious. I just threw some garlic salt on their schnoz and roasted.
They're
them.
real small, aren't they?
They're basically the same exact size.
Huh. Okay.
This was
Well,
from
there you go.
Cool.
this was from a acorn squash and a spaghetti squash. Real.
I
good.
like pumpkin seeds. I'm in. I'm in
I
on
do
pumpkin
too.
seeds.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely will. Faux show. All right, guys. Did anything else, John?
No, I think that's
You
what we
looked
got.
you looked pregnant with thought there for a second.
I'm just ready to get in, ready to, sink my hands into this one.
Okay, that was too much. All right, guys, let's take a quick break so that we can review Mandy.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
Welcome to Prime Time, John Schnaps.
If I knew the words, if I was confident that I knew the words to the song, I would be singing the song. But I just, it's one of those songs where you could like sing
Isn't
a lot
it
of the words in different
Mandy?
orders.
Oh man, you came without.
Yeah, it's like you came and you gave without taking, or came and you took without giving. I can't remember. Something- Yeah. It's a good song.
Oh, you're gonna get so much shit from Joe next week.
Manilow.
We've already
no,
established
what-
that my only knowledge of this song comes from Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah, well, wasn't Joe the one who didn't even know it was in the movie?
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. All right. Mandy.
John Schnars,
Woo. Yes, Eric.
you went to Duke.
Yeah.
What do they
4-0
do?
Duke Blue Devil football team.
I
if anyone's
shudder to
wondering.
ask, what does Duke do for Halloween?
It's funny. I don't remember anything. Like, there's Halloween parties. The big thing is, so at UNC, like our rival, on their like main strip, Franklin Street, that is like the biggest Halloween party in North Carolina. So a lot of people actually go over to that. And we just get along for the evening.
Did Duke do okay during the hurricane?
I think so. Like there wasn't any like I didn't get any pleas for money or anything from the university, so I'm assuming it's fine.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole state of North Carolina though, kind of rough go.
Well, thank God I was worried.
Yeah, no, for sure.
When you were there, John, presumably they taught you words. You actually have some kind of like word degree.
Yeah, literature degree.
Yeah.
Words together forms literature.
I know I've said this before, but it's really amazing how far you've come on that literature degree, John.
You mean to being on a horror podcast?
Look at what you made of yourself. You're like an inspiration to lit grads everywhere.
Yeah, or they'd be mortified by me, but one way or the other, it's going great.
Either way, John, I'm trying to establish your bona fides here, you know?
Sure.
Just to let people know that you are the one who brings us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word, stochastic.
Whoa.
Yes. I'm pretty excited about this one. Stochastic. Stochastic means randomly determined, having a random probability distribution or pattern that may be analyzed statistically but may not be predicted precisely.
I'll tell you what, I understand that less after you gave me the definition.
So it's basically I mean, you'll see this used in like sciencey type places, statistics and the like. It comes to us from the Greek stokos means to aim, and eventually that gets translated
What's
to aim at / guess.
Cousin to Balki Bartakamus.
Yes, but you'll hear about stochastic processes, and that's in fact where I found this word. So a process that's defined as stochastic means that it is like basically random, or there is some random element to it. And So this is going to seem crazy, but I was reading a paper that was like linked on, online somewhere, and it was about how someone published a paper, like a science paper recently, and this was like a lay article about it, about how there is a mathematical sort of like formula or investigation into the visual experiences of hallucination. So basically, they like categorized or classified, and this stuff goes all the way back to like Timothy Leary when he was experimenting with LSD. The types, the shapes, and like different types of visual hallucinations you can experience. And so then people have been kind of like trying to come up with a reason for why everyone experiences roughly the same types, right? Like sort of like tunnels or different, distortions in different directions. And so this paper went into like, basically there's like a stochastic process combined with the way your neurons in your visual cortex are sort of interacting, that it produces these random shapes basically that all kind of fit into those same, I don't know,
Fascinating,
things.
John. Nice work, buddy.
Yeah.
And Joe wasn't here to hear your good word of the day.
Nah, it is what it is.
Joe,
This was.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it just happened to be that we watched a movie about acid heads. I don't know, what do you call people who are just like tripped out on acid all the time?
Acid heads, that works.
Yeah, acid heads. Okay. We watched a movie about acid heads, and I had read an article about acid stuff. So it just sometimes it's the serendipity and all.
I love acid stuff. John, have you ever heard of Terrence McKenna?
Terrence McKenna?
So Terrence McKenna is this guy. He's like sort of a Timothy Leary-like figure, but he came around a little later, but they sort of were contemporaries in some ways. And he's this dude. He's just like, he's all in on the psychedelic experience, and he believes that it's like the route to humanity surviving, and that it's this gateway into like spirituality and understanding the universe and mathematics and all this stuff. And you can search on YouTube and find just dozens and dozens of hours of this guy's lectures. You have never heard anything that makes less sense but seems more profound. Like literally, I sometimes just put it on at work in the background while I'm listening. It's like so fascinating to listen to, and it's one of those things where like you think you've got what he's talking about, and then you're just like, wait, what? But he's just got this great like lyrical. This movie made me think of it, and then you bringing up stochastic.
He looks like an interesting dude. I'm just looking at his Wikipedia page. So.
He is fascinating.
How many times has he been on Joe Rogan?
I don't know, but I know that
he
Joe
died
Rogan.
in 2000. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, because a lot of the lectures seem older. I was gonna say I know.
Bad.
I am sure that Joe Rogan knows who this dude is.
Yeah.
But highly recommend it. Speaking of acid stuff. All right, John.
Yeah,
Tell me who made this movie. What's it about?
Okay, Mandy is the second, I believe second, I'm going to double check that, but second feature film by one Panos Cosmatos. Panos Cosmatos is an Italian-Canadian director. His first feature, Beyond the Black Rainbow, I think it's fair to call it maybe not a cult classic, but definitely sort of like a cult favorite. It's I've seen some of it. I actually don't know that I ever finished watching it. It actually does share a lot of elements with Mandy.
You might say I wrote the review for it on bloodygoodhorror.com.
Yeah, you could say that. I think one of the big differences with Mandy is like, if you keep me honest here, but I don't remember there being like that many recognizable talent.
No.
Whereas here you have Nicolas Cage primarily, which we can get into it. It's sort of like stunt casting, but also the best kind of stunt casting, I would argue. Then you have a bunch of other folks who are kind of like, I don't know, variously recognizable. The sort of other main character is probably Linus Roach. They're actually, I guess, Linus Roach. There's another woman, Andrea Riseborough. The basic plot outline, and frankly, like that's the most I'm going to be able to give anyway, is that you have Nicolas Cage. He plays Red Miller. He is in a relationship with Mandy. They live in, I'm going to guess, the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if they ever reveal it, but let's call it Oregon.
How about Spooky Woods?
Yeah, they live in the Spooky Woods.
They live in Dem Woods.
Actually, well, and now that I know Panos is Canadian, it could just be they live in Canada somewhere. But yeah, they're living in the woods. Cage works as a logger. What are those? A logger, I guess. Is that the job title? She works at sort of like the local store, and they just live this sort of like nice, peaceful life. They love each other, and they kind of just have this nice life in the woods. Insert crazy acid head cult, essentially. The head of which is this guy Linus Roach. He played the character's name is Jeremiah Sand. Linus Roach, American listeners will be most familiar with him from Law and Order SVU. Probably there's like 3-4 seasons where he plays the sort of like main district attorney. So it was funny because he looks pretty different in this movie, but his voice is very recognizable. So anyone that watched a lot of Law and Order, you're gonna hear it and be like, oh yeah, damn. But yeah, so basically you have this cult. They're driving down the road in this crazy backwood area. They see Mandy. He sees Mandy specifically. They go back. They're doing kind of like creepy cult stuff. And he essentially says to his right hand, Brother Swan, he says, you need to go get me that girl that we saw. And he says, you know what to do, or something along those lines. Brother Swan uses this sort of mythic horn. They give it a name. There's a lot of sort of mythology and sort of lore built up here that's, I would say, left unexplained intentionally. And so he uses this horn. He calls these motorcycle riders, who are potentially real, potentially hallucinations, potentially something in between, demons of some sort. And they come, and then together, this sort of like group of 5 or 6 people goes and kidnaps Mandy, takes her, sort of brings her back to the cult leader. There's an exchange between them. She rejects the cult leader, and so then as punishment, they basically kill her in front of the Nicolas Cage character while he's tied up. I think they essentially attempt to kill him as well. He survives, and the rest of the film is basically just revenge on this group, including this guy. I believe they call him Carruthers, or no, it's not Carruthers. There's basically a guy who's cooking all the acid that these folks are using, and so he goes and kills basically everyone involved in this whole acid cult. I don't know. That seems like the plot? Did I miss anything big?
No.
That was pretty succinct.
Joe still would have told me I took too long, so thank you.
For some reason, their acid is like paste consistency, which I found a little off-putting, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
when Nick Cage finds the good stuff later in the movie, it is anyway.
Yeah,
But the lady they dose in her eyes, which is like some hardcore hippie shit.
Something. Yeah.
That's what they do, John.
Okay.
It's a true story. It hits you faster. Anyway, Casey, what did you think of this movie?
Well, we all know that I am automatically on board for anything genre related that slaps Nick Cage's name on the cover, and I wasn't disappointed. This movie was really trippy. It was really different. It was really weird, and I kind of loved it just because of that. And a lot of it made sense to me, and it was... it's just kind of totally unique for me. It's not a movie that you'd see very often. I thought Nick Cage was good. I thought Linus Roach was pretty good as the cult leader. It was really enjoyable. I could have done with even more crazy Nick Cage, but what he gave us was pretty spot on, I think. So
you never want to get too much Cage, though, right? Like you kind of just want just that perfect amount.
That's true. You don't want to spoil yourself.
Joe, welcome from your own horror movie on the train home tonight.
My trip home was Zelda. It was something to behold.
We haven't mentioned any of it on the show so far.
Did you have beers, Joe? Did you at least have a beer with you?
No, no, I didn't have anything. Just my phone and a smile.
Well, your hair looks amazing, if that makes you feel any better.
I walked in and I told Leslie I'm not so much pissed about missing the show, but I'd be pissed if not everyone got to enjoy this tonight.
And we all missed our musical cues on Mandy when he came in. So.
Oh, Mandy.
Yeah, exactly. What'd you think of this, Joe?
I liked it. Question mark. No, I enjoyed it. I think I don't know if Eric's given his thoughts yet, but we kind of talked about this over email. I thought it was a little bit long, specifically like the first hour of the 2 hours. But once we kind of get to, and I don't know what John gave away in the synopsis. I assume it was also 2 hours. But once we kind of get to where things set off and Cage goes on his Cage Rage rampage. I really
You were
liked
working
it.
on that the whole train ride home, weren't
No,
you?
it literally just popped into my head. I really liked it from that point on. I thought they could have trimmed some of the beginning out. I think what really held it together for me though was the score, which I loved. Like I thought it was amazing. And it's super droney and like black metal-ish. And I thought like the tone, especially a lot of sort of the in-between fight scenes, really like paired well with that. Like it's very like floaty almost. All the like the slow-mo we get of like Cage walking around and stuff. Like I really like that stuff. I just could have done without like 15 minutes of them talking about their favorite planets and stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
Cece.
I really liked it. I think that I mean, it was long, but I think that I kind of saw that as I thought the whole movie was a very impressive illustration of like a graphic novel done as a movie, because like there's no real like plot development outside of like kind of the scenery. So each scene is very, very impressive. And the scenery is kind of like this velvet painting of psychedelic acid, and that's also super interesting and entertaining. So I definitely think this was Nick Cage's like tour de force, and it was awesome. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Some people would say leaving Las Vegas. You would say Nick Cage walking around in tighty whities.
No,
I mean, him screaming on the toilet was really just like,
Oh my god.
that's Oscar worthy.
I'm pretty with everybody else here. Like I did see, actually I remember, I didn't realize this was the same guy that did Beyond the Black Rainbow. And my thoughts on that movie, which I remember now, Schnorrs, because I went back and read my review and was like, holy shit, I wrote this. It's like the guy had this very, very acute sense for visuals and this sort of 70s inspired hallucinogenic style, but there just wasn't much substance plot-wise to that. And oddly enough, there's actually more here, even though it might be hard to believe. But like, there's kind of just enough to ground you here in this kind of simple revenge story. Simple in other ways, weirdly complicated, but like,
Yeah.
it's not really complicated. It's just very strange. But it's kind of great because then after every sort of hallucinatory episode, the plot still chugs along. So that to me helps you stay with it as you're going. I don't know. I agree that it's too long with Joe, and we discussed this over email. I am old, John. I have not a lot of time on my hands. I'm very tired all the time. 90 minutes. Maybe 95 if you're like real good. But that's
if
it,
you're like
man.
real good.
It's funny
Pretty
because I
strict.
remember like I
That's
sat
tight.
down and watched what was that Nolan thing about space? What was that movie?
Interstellar.
Yeah, I love that movie. Like mind blowing, one of my favorite movies of all time. But now I think about it and I'm like, could I make it through that movie nowadays? Like, I'm not sure.
2 hours is only if you're going for an Oscar, and
Sure.
that's like,
Okay.
and this movie is not, obviously, except for
but it's like-
Cece's vote.
But I would disagree with Joe though. I actually like enjoy these scenes early on in the movie because they're just so visually arresting. Like this house that they live in is so cool. It's all windows, and they're
Mhm.
laying in bed, and the aurora is above them, and it's casting these crazy kind of red visuals on them, and it's so trippy. I can't say how I know this, guys, but I can say with certainty that this guy has done a lot of acid. Because I feel like great.
That's like the most obvious statement to
But
make.
but listen, but it's very easy to like fake the trippy visuals and not really understand it, because it's like it goes beyond the visuals. It's like the way that conversations happen, all consuming dialogue where like this cult leader is saying things and she's like every moment kind of oozes with importance and fear, but at the same time you don't understand what the hell is being said or going on, but you sense that it's important because everything is important, right, when it's happening. The cast is great. Nick Cage is Nick Cage. I love Nick Cage in this phase of his career. Not even ironically, I just kind of love that he's taking these crazy projects and he's really leaning into it. I actually think that this movie leans into his strengths right now, which is more the physical side of it. He actually doesn't have a ton of dialogue, and I think that's a good thing. I think if you look at a movie like that thing where he's in the movie where the people want to kill their kids or whatever.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
National Treasure.
I really feel like that movie suffers kind of when they have him talking too much, if that makes sense. But this movie doesn't do that. Like, he's just psycho. He's got a couple weird conversations, but it's more just physical acting, and I think that's really smart. We can talk about the cult leader. He's really amazing.
He's actually very believable at running a cult.
There are a lot of like specific spots I would cut. I actually think like almost every scene could be a little shorter. I feel like because he's got this tendency to just let scenes really breathe, except maybe the one where Nick Cage is covered in blood in tighty whities chugging vodka, because that scene is.
I actually want to see the B-roll on that.
Just chef's kiss, that scene.
Whatever you got.
And I actually, oddly enough, I think the parts at the end when he's getting revenge and stalking the people, I feel like the stalking parts could be shorter. Like, just get to the part where he's killing them, because that's what I want to see, and I felt a little impatient during that part. But
so I totally agree with that. I actually thought the first half of the film, so it literally is almost midway when they kill Mandy. That's like it's like 1 hour into the movie, and then the second hour it's a movie in two parts, and the first half it flows better. It just like, I don't know, I enjoyed it more, even though all of the sort of cathartic elements in theory come in the second half. Because I do think the second half, to your point, Eric, and I couldn't even put my finger on it exactly, but it's just the pacing. Obviously the pacing is like a little different. I think the one thing I would say is this guy, and again, having not seen all of the Black Rainbow film, but he is as close to an auteur as we have like going right now, in terms of he has a vision, he has a style that he's bringing.
He's got such a powerful visual sense, and whereas in Black Rainbow, he felt you could really feel his influences more directly, like more sort of not copying, but just like they're very easy to pick out. You really feel like he's kind of got a voice here a little more, and it's certainly 70s inspired. I mean, the movie's set in the 70s, and he does something here.
83.
Oh, right. I don't know if this. I doubt it was shot on film, because movies just don't shoot on film nowadays. But I don't know if you guys noticed the grain in this movie is like cranked up to 1,000, and that would be a natural artifact of shooting in low light on 35 millimeter film back then. And it was clearly an aesthetic choice. I guess it must have been added later in post, but it gives the whole thing an interesting feeling.
Yeah, it's crazy how assured he is in the decisions he's making.
Definitely.
For someone who's made two films.
Yeah,
that's what's really surprising me. I know I sent it through on the email, but in researching a little bit before, I mean, his father's a fairly successful Hollywood director. Directed things like Tombstone, one of the Rambo movies. So this guy is a guy who's like had an opportunity to kind of be around filmmaking, and he's not the kind of person who was like on set just like fucking around. Like, he was paying attention, like he.
I mean, it's like we talk about this sometimes, but it's like when you're watching a movie and you can feel when filmmakers are just feeling out the simple process of making a movie. And the difference between that and when someone has such confidence in their batshit crazy decisions. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, this is the weirdest goddamn movie, but at no point do you feel this guy questioning himself.
Oh,
is it? Yeah. You guys saw Beyond the Black Rainbow. Like, I'm curious, because this definitely takes a turn, like John said, like midway through, where it almost turns into like Grindhouse-esque.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say definitely.
Well, sort of, but it's more just like hallucinatory, and there's not a ton of plot, and like.
Yeah, it's a weird blend. But from Beyond the Black Rainbow, at least from what I saw, and I haven't seen it, like, doesn't really take that turn. So I'm almost curious if like his next film is going to be, not that this movie's like super accessible, but like I wonder if he's veering more towards like being watchable. if that's the right word for it.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I think it's for me, it seemed like a stylistic choice because when this movie makes a turn is about the time that Nick Cage shows up at the biker's house with the and dips into the coke and the hallucinogenic jelly. So about that time, the rest of the tone of the movie changes, and it kind of feels more acid trip to me as he keeps going. Once he has that big crazy scene, once he first takes a drop of whatever stuff that those guys are on.
Yeah.
Like it takes a hard turn, and it's funny because you guys keep saying that you actually enjoyed the first half more than the second, and I really like the second a lot more than the first. Like specifically because of some of those like drawn out scenes where he's stalking and stuff. Like and again, like I keep going back to it. Like I loved the score, and I loved the way that it fit in with like because and Cece knows like her husband listens to the band Sun, and like they did they composed like a couple of the tracks with the guy, I forget his name, but apparently he also did the score for Arrival. And he just passed away last year, but like it has that sort of feel, and like that type of music is meant to be like super super drawn out. And like I've never seen a movie actually use that style and like fit so well with it. And, like, I kind of loved it.
There is a dread though. There's like a dread and a tension to the first half because you don't really know what the movie's gonna be at all. And I didn't anyway because I didn't watch a trailer. And like you're just waiting for something bad to happen, and I don't know. It's like I was okay with that part. Certainly at some point you're like an hour into the movie, which is the point at which the thing happens to Mandy, and I'm just kind of like, what happens now? You could have arrived at that point certainly earlier.
Yeah, Joe. His name is Johan Johansson.
Johan.
I don't know how you forgot that.
Rest in peace.
Really quick on the point that Joe brought up, because like the question of sort of evolution of filmmaking, like I'm very interested to see where Panos goes next. But I do think it's pretty common to see directors move into, I don't want to say like more mainstream. My hope is that he'll keep doing crazy sort of like daring risky stuff, but there is an element of, if you want to work with good talent, you want to like make bigger movies, you do need to, like, you see it with like I know Cronenberg very well, or like I've like followed his career very closely, and even someone like Peter Jackson, you go watch those like old Peter Jackson movies, your brain deads, it's they're pretty fucking creepy and like crazy and acid trippy. And then he's making Lord of the Rings like 20 years later. I mean, I don't know that Panos is going to get all the way there. I almost hope he doesn't, but it's not, it wouldn't be crazy to me to see him kind of move in more in that direction. He got some like legit talent here. And he clearly like knows people. Like he was able to like pull in some interesting talent for a movie that when you read the script, you have to just be like, what in the fuck is this guy talking about?
I mean, to kind of further that conversation, like I think it's really impressive that his first two films are so unique and so very much his style and his idea. So for him to put that out there at the beginning and really knock it out at the park, I mean, that kind of sets up his career for him to keep doing whatever he feels like doing, and it's obviously going to get fans, and it's going to create new fans, even if it's not as easily consumable by the larger audience.
Because a lot of directors are going to start out playing it more safe, and he really did not play it safe at all. Everything from color palettes to everything else that he's got packed into this movie is just really his own thing. So, at the same time, at the same other end of the spectrum on that conversation, I just went and saw a kids movie directed by Eli Roth, a PG movie. So,
there you go.
What is that?
The House with the Clock on its walls.
How was that? I want to take Mia, but I've also seen people saying that it's pretty scary for kids.
It was fun. It's a little creepy at the end. I could see it being a little intense. Not too bad. Not like trauma, but she may want to get the hell out.
Can we talk about the Rob Zombie Cenobites?
Yes.
Also, before we talk about that, Kyle literally paused the movie and goes, "Do you think that Rob Zombie watches this movie and is like, fuck, that's what I wanted
Yeah.
Lords of Salem to be like. And I was like, yes,
Yeah,
I really
like,
do.
oh
And
shit.
I bet he hates that he didn't just go for
Shit,
it.
this is what it looks like when a good director makes one of my
Yeah.
movies. God
Yeah, I was
damn
gonna
it.
say, I feel like it's insulting to this movie to compare those guys to like.
Yeah,
No,
some
but
of
it's
Rob
funny though.
Zombie
You
movies.
can really see the aesthetic though, like the
Because
similarity.
I mean, it would have made Lords of Salem 12 times 12 times freakier and more effective had he really gone this direction. But anyway,
I thought you were gonna want to talk about Cheddar Goblin, but
Oh my
we can
God.
start with the Cenobites
Cheddar
first.
Goblin is pretty sweet.
Talk about Cheddar Goblin all night.
There's just really quick. There's three people credited as writing this film. Two of them are Panos and this guy Aaron Stewart on, and then the third credit is for someone who wrote the Cheddar Goblin
Well,
commercial.
the guy who wrote the Cheddar Goblin commercial is the same guy that did that Too Many Cooks for.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hero, American hero.
Yeah.
Oh my
American hero.
God.
And now
Unbelievable.
that song will be stuck in your head for the rest of the week.
He did Harvey Birdman. It looks like he's done a bunch of stuff on
Yeah,
Adult Swim. Now that you say that.
Yeah,
Oh my
Adult
God, that's crazy. Yeah. In any event, Cheddar Goblin. The Cenobites were super weird to me. And look, like this is the beauty of this movie. Like I would actually, it's like crazy to even say. I would watch this again because there really is. There's a lot to unpack for a movie that has not that much dialogue and frankly like not that many characters. Like there's still just to understand some of the directions that he's going, and when you
Yeah.
see things to understand, knowing what you know to then go back through it with a little bit more of a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, I feel like I missed some like subtle nods. Like we talked a lot about it over email. Like I'm still not 100% sure what the connection between like I don't know what we keep on like the Cenobites and the Robobites and like the cult, like why they had any sort of interaction other than to kidnap Mandy. But
There's literally one scene of exposition in the entire film.
yeah,
And it's when Nick Cage goes to visit the actor Bill Duke. This is the character Carruthers. He's again like a pretty famous sort of like 80s film star. But he goes and sees him, and this dude just lays out basically everything that's going on in the movie. But it's the only sequence in the entire movie where anything is explained to you. And you're right, Joe. Like he kind of like references multiple people, but you're not sure who the hell he's talking about.
yeah,
So yeah, I really like I thought the it's funny because the creature design on them is so like one of them is like Pinhead, but it's all over his body. He's got pins as opposed to just on his head. Like they're clearly cribbed, but I was fine with it. Like I think it's again we kind of talked.
It's done really well, and they're like pretty scary. The only thing is like I would have gone a little more mystical and magical. We had this like whole debate on this about like are they just acid head bikers, are they demons? But like there is talk of like conjuring them. He does blow this weird whistle thing to sort of like call them, and I swear to God one of them had a knife for a wiener. So like there's
See, but at the same time, because I rewatched this before we started, sorry CC to cut you off there, but when Carruthers is doing the exposition at some point he mentions about some biker gang, and the chemist had a certain group of them and mixed them up a special batch, and they were never the same again. That's what's got me confused on the whole demon thing.
but I thought that was the cult members.
yeah, I thought he
not
was talking about his cult
Yeah.
members.
That I didn't pick up on, so you could be right.
CC.
No, I definitely thought they were being when you first see the sequence when he's blowing on the horn and they arrive. Like I 100% thought they were demons and that they were supernatural demons. But then Nick Cage goes and finds them and murders them in human. Now there's
in
a
their
ton
dirty ass house.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that gets into questions of sort of third person sort of what's that third person omniscient sort of perspective where you're kind of getting the Nick Cage perspective, because there's a lot of stuff around the way people's voices sound. Even Nick Cage's voice in the final scene, at least, they take on this weird supernatural quality, and so there's a lot of stuff that, and this maybe gets to the knife wiener. Like, who knows if that's just like in Nick Cage's head and it's being transmitted to us that way, or if it's actually really happening.
Well, that's how I took it. I just took it as, I mean, if you're doing that much acid and you're living out in the woods and you've become like this super crazy, A, part of a cult, and B, this biker gang who now only like, eats people and does acid, then I would think you probably lose a lot of your like sense of reality. And then if you get sucked into that realm and you're also on acid, then everything that's real is kind of, spookier and more messed up. So
Nick Cageified.
yes,
Do
Nick
you,
Cageified.
do you think that the cult leader being fully manscaped was an artistic choice or just like a
Oh boy,
that's the
That's
way
how
it
he
was?
showed up to
we
set.
got a
I
real.
don't know. I feel like I've watched a lot of SVU, or not SVU, but because he's on regular Law and Order. And he seems very like, I don't know, he seems
Wait.
very much like the cult member type personality. So maybe that's
How
just
often
a
do you
personal
see
choice.
his junk on SVU?
Yeah.
All the time.
You get a
I
real
just meant
long.
his personality.
You get a real lingering view of his schwanz for sure.
Yeah, that's why you listen to his mixtape.
Uncircumcised, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Yes. Casey,
That-
while you
that
listen to
sequence-
his
That sequence, I mean, I think that's actually one of the most, I'll call it, aggressive sequences in the film,
yeah.
insofar as like he makes choices. So the specific scene I'm thinking
First
about
of all,
is when
it's red.
well, it's and he's shooting their faces, and the faces they're having a conversation instead of using the 180-degree rule and like making sure you kind of like know where you are in space. He literally just layers the shots on top of each other, but then oscillates between
Oh,
like
the
80,
thing where her
20%
face
translucency.
changes. Yeah.
It's that shit when the first time you're looking at that dude's face, and it's literally a super tight close-up on that guy's face, and then it begins to morph into the woman's face. I thought I was on acid for like
Well, and I
a solid
feel
10
like,
seconds.
yeah, and I feel like that's kind of why like I feel the way I do about the bike, like the weird bikers later on, is that like you're supposed to be kind of sucked into this weird like hallucinatory trip. So everything that you're thinking should be real is probably not very real or is super skewed. So I thought that was an amazing choice. And to have that scene where Mandy blatantly rejects him in front of his followers was so well done. Like when she starts laughing is just like, it's so satisfying, but then you're like, this is the end. Like that's the turn for that movie.
Yeah.
My only beef with the biker gang is because of the like color palette and stuff that he used when he made this movie. I would have liked to seen some more detail in them, just because they kind of blended in with the dark backgrounds, and it was kind of hard to make out some of it. And like we saw the one that looked like she's wearing the mask, or looked like they were wearing the mask that was kind of see through and weird, that was in the basement or whatever. She looked pretty cool. And then the other ones, they look kind of muddy in comparison just because of the lighting and stuff.
You thought that was a woman?
I assumed.
Wait, what?
Which person?
Wait,
I
who
didn't-
was-
Her face was, the face on her mask was feminine. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I just like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
boy.
You know,
I
who's
didn't think, I just like assume they're all men.
you know there's just a lot of wild acting going on in this movie. The older cult lady,
Ooh.
Yes.
she is terrifying in this movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
gonna
But
make
like
love,
just she sells this singular devotion to this guy so well. It's like I
Yeah.
was mesmerized by her. It was crazy.
Yeah. And
I was gonna
honestly,
say-
with the go ahead, Cece.
I was gonna say she's more terrifying than the cult leader.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, because you really only see, as far as the cult goes, you see the leader, you see her, and then his one helper that kind of does all his dirty work for him. And they could have gone with just her and the cult leader and been perfectly fine.
Wouldn't be much of a cult then.
Well, there's only like 5 of them anyways, so.
Cult's got to
Yeah.
start somewhere.
It's definitely it's not, I don't want to say it's unambitious, but it's not an inspiring cult.
It's in its infancy. You don't know
Yeah.
like what stage of cultness they're in. You know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but they have their churches in the middle of a rock quarry in the middle of nowhere. How often are you going to drive out there for cult meetings before you're like, fuck it, I'm not going?
I mean, most cults take place like in the middle of freaking nowhere. Okay. I feel like if I was looking for a cult, that's the kind of place I would start wandering around looking.
Joe, do you have any more guidance on where one might find the right cult to join?
Just saying. If I'm looking for a guy with completely shaved pubes leading a cult, I'm gonna start wandering around the woods.
Do you think the cult members did the shaving for him?
That's a good question.
Probably the old lady.
Yeah, the old lady.
Yeah.
Her name's like Mother something, the character name.
I really love the scene where after the guys have been summoned and they Nick Cage and Mandy are sleeping in the bed in this incredibly creepy bedroom. All windows, this bedroom. And
Yeah,
they're in the
I
middle,
would not live in that house.
They're in the middle of the woods and it's foggy. I feel like he missed it's crazy that he didn't do this, but I feel like he missed a real opportunity to have them all just standing outside of the windows looking in at them while they slept. How do you not do that with that room?
Oh.
But they just visually, I felt like I could have spent more time in that house with how creepy it was.
I mean, yeah, it was a cool concept, and I appreciate that he used that type of house, but I don't know. No
Nope.
thanks.
Yeah.
I was
My reaction was when they showed the front of it with the lights, the front of the cabin. You see all the crazy windows. It's like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. And then they show him the bedroom. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy. Well, you came and you gave without taking.
There you go. Nailed it.
But I sent you away, oh Mandy.
So,
Yeah.
Eric, are we going to cut this off or?
We good?
Sure. Mandy.
I was
do it.
worried Eric's wife was going into labor.
Sorry. Would you recommend this, John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah, I think so.
Cece?
Absolutely.
Sorry,
Oh, I'm
Casey.
sorry.
One of us, all I heard was and I go,
That's
oh, that's
all I
me.
heard too.
Cece.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna also say yes. It's real weird. Check it out. All right, guys, it's gonna do it. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Something almost beyond comprehension is happening to a girl on this street, in this house, and a man has been sent for as a last resort. This man is the exorcist. Rated R.
This is Courtney Gaines and Malachi from Children of the Corn, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Joe, I've been saving an email from Kaylin for a few weeks now because you haven't been on.
Oh, I'm excited.
Feel free not to read this one on the podcast. I just have to email since my Twitter is private. As the spooky and holiday seasons approach, I highly recommend Joe look into getting his hands on the Hardywood Gingerbread Stout from Richmond, Virginia. Maybe he's had it before. He is the expert. Hardywood is a great brewery, and their GBS is always highly anticipated. It's a 9.2%, Joe.
Oof. I have not had that, but we are actually spending Thanksgiving down in Richmond, Virginia, so I will try and track that down.
I
my
had
God. How fortuitous.
I had a Citizen Cider ginger cider this weekend.
Ooh,
they're
how was
based.
that?
It was incredible. They're based out of Vermont. You know what it reminded me of, Joe, is remember the Milwaukee, the brewery that we had dinner at that first night had like a ginger, gluten-free beer. I mean, you probably didn't drink it, but I did.
No, I didn't. At Great Lakes.
Yeah, theirs actually was a little better though because the ginger was stronger. Like it will it'd burn your sinuses out in a good way.
Interesting.
It's good, though.
I would definitely give that a go.
But yeah, I liked it. Next up, Robale. Thanks to the crew for sitting through some bad movies for us. I gotta say, I sometimes prefer when you review a bad fun movie with plot holes over some of the more serious fare like Revenge. although I do love the Danger Girls. I wanted to quickly point out after the person wrote in last week about Assassination Nation, I saw the movie this weekend and thought it was an awesome mix of Natural Born Killers meets The Purge meets Mean Girls. The uncomfortable moments in that film came with a message, unlike Mandy, which I tried to force myself through twice this weekend. I'll give it props in it that it looked cool like a 1990s music video, but beyond that, I found it to be a chore. I know you aren't doing as many theatrical movies, but what is your plan for things like Assassination Nation that come late in the year and might not be on video in time for the best ofs? I think our plan is just to continue to make judgment calls, I guess, and kind of see how much time's left in the year. And I mean,
I definitely want to check that one out if we can.
I wasn't sure if we were considering it horror or not. That was like my open question on.
I think it looks purgy enough for it to be, to fit in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to help point to looking at the calendar, we have let's see, we have 5 more movies in the theater for the year, so we've got some time to get some of these in here as well. So, like throughout a good chunk of November, beginning of December, we'll be able to do some of the home video stuff too. So.
Yeah, I mean, the hope too I would have for something like Assassination Nation, it comes out like this weekend, or it did come out, so it'll be on video. We'll be able to get to that before the end of the year, only because the turnarounds are getting so short now. You're seeing stuff like 30 days later, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that get a wide release?
I don't think so. But good question.
That is all.
It's playing in Indiana. It's got to be fairly wide.
Mandy.
That is all for emails. What do we got on Twitter?
The tweets. Okay. Monitoring 2 hashtags. The first, BGH Classics. This is the navel gazy portion for those listeners out there who don't like. You can fast forward. But no, these are some funny comments that we've made in the past, and people call them out, and we are embarrassed usually because we said dumb shit back in the day. So here we go. Mary that's at Mary Was It Scary. This is an Eric. Eric, if you're going to suggest it to me, at least show me some alien cutting some people up or jabbing them in the butt. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Question. Sorry, that was a question mark at the end.
That is alien stuff. That's it. That's right in Alien's wheelhouse.
Do you know what movie?
I should, because I read this earlier, but no, I don't remember.
It was The Fourth Kind.
Oh, okay.
There's we've only done like maybe 20 alien movies. Like you
mean that relationship breaking movie?
Yeah, exactly. The next one comes from Mi Corazon Mi Amor. Everything is better drunk. Literally everything. And that's from Eric. The movie was Black Rock, so I'm not really sure what the reference there was.
Yikes.
I stand by that. Listen, there's plenty of things we talk about in the show other than the movie, so I'm sure
that's
that's
fair.
Something else.
Monica has another one here. This is I'll let you guess the source of the quote. The film takes place in the city of France, which is the city off the coast of Epcot. That was
I mean, come on.
Yeah. The movie was As Above, So Below.
That was Cece's first movie, if I remember correctly.
It was.
Mm-hmm. So we got 2 more here really quick. Skylar. So there he provides some sort of like stage direction, I guess, or whatever you call it. There's a buzzing sound. And then the quote, Casey just emailed me, quote, penis, so it does work. And that was Eric making sure his BGH email address was working, episode 99.
Nice.
Another highlight of
still got that same email address 10 years later.
Yeah.
I'm here to help.
Somebody one time emailed and was like, I was racking my brain, like searching the internet, trying to figure out what the show email address is. And it didn't even occur to me that you literally say it every show, like in the bumper. Because they just didn't listen to it because they'd heard it so many times.
Yeah. So the last one here comes to us from Dustin. It's a new one for BGH Classics. So it says crash, more stage direction here. Crash, and then ow is the quote. And he says unknown episode when someone's significant other tripped in the background, perfectly placed during a pause in the discussion, and everyone laughed and moved on without comment. And he literally, and then he tags Monica at Mi Corazon Mi Amor and says, "Can you identify?" I have no idea. Do any of you guys know which episode that was?
That does not ring a bell. No.
Okay. That's Dustin at SwimDMC on Twitter.
The only good significant other moment I can remember is Laura scaring the shit out of Eric when she looked in the window.
Oh man, that's still in GIF form somewhere. I'd have to find it, but
Yeah.
that was a spooktacular. I mean, that was like because we had a basement where it was almost kind of like 3 feet from ceiling down was above ground, and so you had those little square windows, and there was one right above my desk, and it was like getting dark out, and all of a sudden, that's like one of my legit biggest fears is like looking out a window at night and seeing somebody right on the other side staring back at you. And then it happened, and I thought I was gonna poop my pants.
She done did it to you.
I would love. I know Monica has she's kind of the oracle of BGH, where she has like this Excel document of
like that.
everything. I would love a running tally of legit Eric's greatest fears, because I feel like there's one like every 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about today that new Philly mascot, because people were talking
Gritty.
about people were talking about how the eyes.
Love Gritty.
Oh, here's the GIF. I have it in the video now. People were talking about how the eyes freaked them out, and I realized like it's got the same thing that freaked me out about Uncle Traveling Matt back in the day when I was a kid.
I spent, I think, $15 on a Funko Pop Uncle Traveling Mac just because I want to look up at it every day and think about how much it terrifies you.
It's so scary. It's the eyes though. They're unblinking, Joe.
They're unblinking.
Weren't all the Fraggles unblinking though?
He looks like he got into some of that Rob Zombie Cenobite acid. Listen,
All right.
I'm gonna send you a picture. Okay, you tell me this is not frightening.
Listen, we're not going down. We've been down this road so many times. All right, we're moving on.
This road.
We're moving over to Ask BGH. Ask BGH, where you can ask us anything, whether it's about Uncle Traveling Matt, Gritty, any of other Eric's fears. So we've got a bunch. I'm not positive. Did you guys cover the where does this guy rank on Schnarr scale last time?
No. People send them to me a lot on Twitter, but I don't remember talking about one on the show. Can you post it in the chat?
Yeah, I will post it in the chat. The guy is Christian Matson, also known as the band Tallest Man on Earth. So if you've ever seen the Tallest Man on Earth guy, I'm gonna say that he doesn't. I would say he looks more like the Eric scale than the Schnarr scale.
Well,
that's my opinion.
I am the ultimate judge of this, John. So
I've listened to that dude for a while. I think he's pretty schnarzian.
Oh, I mean, I know the band, and he's sweet.
Oh, I did see this one. No, this guy's definitely schnarzy. I mean, he's no Sebastian Stan, but he's definitely on the scale.
All right, he's on the scale. Okay, so the next, I'm pretty sure these all came in after.
I mean, if you ran your fingers through your hair in a certain way right now, it would look just like that dude's hair. Like literally, if you like something about married it.
Hair. You're just now. Come on, you're just like it's like, I don't know, anti-hair bias.
Can I just say? Fuck you. Can I just say that like, if my only legacy is that a bunch of people on the internet have the thought to send me pictures of people that kind of look like John, I feel like I'm pretty on board with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. You're gonna have 2 children, and that'll be your legacy. So this is great.
I mean, my real legacy, John.
All right. So the first one comes from Biddlebrain at Biddlebrain, friendly neighborhood daddy man. He says, y'all just had a hilarious conversation about the Twilight Zone in your last episode, and then within 48 hours, Jordan Peele announces his CBS anthology series reboot. I assume you are all getting some on the back end for the idea. The answer is no. We're obviously not, because the world is not fair.
I haven't gotten any on the back end since college, to be honest.
Boy. All right. Moving on. Mandy. So the next one comes from the Slanderous Gent at Slanderous Gent. Think I speak for a lot of listeners when I ask, what the fuck is an armbar?
Oh, come on, bro. That's like it's like a MMA like tap out maneuver. That's where you take the arm and you pull it back against the joint there, and you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's like a legit wrestling move called an armbar too.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't need to be just like.
It's just funny, A, the way he said it, and B, we didn't really touch on it, but like, there was something funny about the fact that it was this like anime movie girl with his giant eyes kicking everybody's ass, but he like like his manhood was challenged, and he felt the need to say out loud in the theater that he could have taken her.
Yeah,
I
I
would just
mean,
put her in an
I
armbar.
also am disappointed that Slanderous Jen spelled it armbar and not phonetically amba.
It's amba,
So
all H's.
the amba, yeah. So, but yeah, asked and answered, I think.
No idea what the hell you guys are talking about.
Yeah, well, you missed the discussion, Joe. At Mark72 Carroll, Mark Carroll, what's the loudest movie you ever heard in the theater?
You know, every time a movie starts now, like I
You
do.
wish you brought earplugs?
Cinnadine.
No, I'm just as I get older, I'm very like protective of my hearing. Like the rare occasion when I go to concerts, like I will bring earplugs with me because you just like as you get older, you just realize
100%.
like it's all over, man. You one bad concert and you're done. But I do at the beginning of movies, I always take a gauge of like, is this too loud?
Yeah.
That what's the one we watched over some of the Dark Tower, the Stephen King one? That thing was fucking ridiculous in the
It
theater.
was really loud, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the loudest movie I've seen is just some random movie where they just fucked up the mix or something and had
Well,
like I've been to
It's definitely
there's an IMAX.
it's definitely a variable for sure.
Yeah, well, I've been to there's an IMAX theater here, and I think there's probably like IMAX directions that are like, whatever you normally set the theater at, set it 1 higher, and then the fucking guy just like turned it up 3 higher or something, and it's literally you're just the whole time you know, am I having a heart attack? What's going on? So yeah. Next one, Barry Elmstrand, our buddy Barry. He says that's at Schlocky Grotto _ Grotto. Which would you like to have more, Nick Cage's custom battle axe or a jar of LSD marmalade?
Oh,
We did not even talk about the battle axe, by the way.
LSD
No.
marmalade,
True.
clearly.
Which is
Battle
a
axe
huge
is
miss. Huge miss.
So awesome. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing that he had that whole forge in his backyard?
I know.
Yes, he had a forge, and then he
Well, I
had
was
the
gonna say-
fucking thing to make that shape.
I'll be honest. I was
Also,
not
like-
impressed by the finishing of it. I felt like it was pretty raw and like if you're gonna go through that whole scene, make it look cool. It looks like he literally wasn't done with it.
Really?
Dude,
I
it
thought
was chrome.
Yeah, and it was so I was reading, and apparently it was a reference, and it looks exactly like it. This band Celtic Frost, they're like an old school like black metal, like one of the first, and it looks exactly like the F from their original logo, and apparently it was like a throwback to that, like that's what inspired it. So I don't know, I was on board with it. I thought it was awesome.
Cece, you got cut off like 8 times there. Did you want to,
Oh.
throw in a bunch of fucking assholes? I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I mean, I was just gonna say I thought that we didn't talk about it, but it was really interesting that he like had like was he supposed to have been like a double life? Like was it kind of like John Wick? Like did he have a life before he met Mandy where he just like but he went to the trailer and got like he just had all of these weapons.
Oh, the crossbow.
And he had
Yeah.
a crossbow and then he
What
knew
was-
how to forge a giant like chrome F. Like who the fuck knows how to
He
do that?
No, you actually do raise a fair point. There's hinting of like a deeper
Yeah.
backstory. Well, because the Carruthers guy that he has the
Mhm.
conversation with, he like goes to him and he like asks for the crossbow, but gives it a specific name.
Right.
I can't- does any-
Yeah.
The Reaper, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that-
and
that-
Mandy earlier, like when she gets kidnapped and the cult leader's like saying something to her, she tells him that the Reaper's coming. So when he says it later, it makes you think like, was that what he
I
used
missed
to do?
that.
I missed
So-
that too.
Yeah.
Nice catch. I mean, it had to be with this way this movie's laid out. It had to have been a reference.
Cece, you got to keep us honest on this shit earlier. I mean, my God, I
Try.
reevaluate my entire enjoyment of the
Yeah.
show.
Chime in every once in a while, CC. Right?
Next time I'll try harder.
Oh my God. Okay, Jennifer M. Drop your linen at Drop Your Linen. You guys keep watching new stuff, so I can't listen to the podcast until I've seen the film for fear of spoilers. I need BGH for spooky season. Can you watch some old shit so I can listen in October? Well, it's a fair request. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be seeing.
Fair
I know.
request, but no.
We certainly get into that stuff more after Halloween because there's like early in the year is kind of better for that stuff because we don't have stuff to catch up on.
Yeah, so we're going. I would say what we are presently looking at. We're probably going to try to catch Beast in the next couple weeks. We will probably be watching the week of October 12th, Apostle. comes out on Netflix, and we will definitely be watching that. And yeah, we'll come back. I mean, we'll obviously keep everybody posted on what we're watching. But so there's some stuff coming out that's like Beast is available for rent right now. You can catch that, things like that. So,
hey Joe, you had a beer, right?
Oh, I sure did.
Do you want me to play
have
the
a beer?
Do you want me to play the music?
I mean, if you want to.
Okay, here we go.
Beer guts.
I don't even know how to get into this because it's so late. But I mean, we've talked about the movie. Nick Cage's character, a fine gentleman named Red, and I thought if he was going to drink a beer, he would probably drink a red ale. And if he was going to drink a red ale, I think he would drink one from the fine folks at Saugatuck Brewing Company up in Douglas, Michigan. And when you're all whacked out on LSD, you're going to drink an uncommonly tweaked.
works on so many levels.
I thought so. I was really proud of it. I haven't had a ton of beers from Saugatuck, but what I have had has been very good, and this one is no exception. So it's an American amber, so it's reddish in color. You get a lot of roasted malts in there, but a little more hop bite than you get from like a traditional red ale. So this type of year, like it feels very fall to me. So I think it really goes well with the upcoming spooky season also. So I am a big fan. Only comes in at 5.5% alcohol, so not super high. You can definitely crack a bunch of these while you're taking the kids out trick-or-treating. Saugatuckbrewing.com is their website, and I wholeheartedly suggest you check them out.
Love it. Thank you for that, Joe. In other really important business, we got to take a look at my top 10 here.
Yeah, I am pulling it up.
I seem to recall last week saying that the number 10 was on notice for being bumped. I need to bump something for Predators.
Oh, wow.
The Predator, you mean?
Sure.
Not for this movie.
Probably not.
Okay.
Wow. John, do you have any more tweets while I pull this up?
Yeah, I do. So the next one, Jeff Petz, PETZ, JJP125. He just says, "What the hell did I just watch?" Jeff. And then the next one, quickly, Jeremy Burgess, JD Burge. He says, "For Joe, hearkening back to the Deathgasm pod, how cult is Mandy?" But he spells it with this V. I don't know. That's a cult thing.
Yeah, so I don't think you were on that episode, and I got to do the word of the day, and that was my word. It's very big in the metal community. I would say, like we talked about the axe being a throwback to the Celtic Frost logo. I mean, that alone, I think, gives you a lot of street cred in the metal community. And also, I don't know if you guys watched all the way to the end, but there's like a small little clip of like some of Mandy's artwork, and then it fades in with the logo for this movie, which was all like almost unreadable, which is what you get with a lot of like these the black metal bands. So I would say it's very Kvelt.
Yeah, we didn't even talk. There's inner titles in this movie, which were great. I love them.
Total throwback to like heavy metal, that old cartoon.
We didn't even talk about the animations.
Yeah, there were a couple of animation scenes. So, yeah, good times. Okay, Joe. Sorry, to the list.
All right. Yeah, I got it in front of me. So, what do you want to hit? You have a top 10 currently, Eric. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah. What's my bottom 5?
Your bottom 5 are The First Purge, Stranger, Pray at Night, A Quiet Place, The Ritual, and Upgrade. And then you have Cloverfield Paradox at 11 currently.
Damn.
we don't have 11. I'm sorry.
I mean, Upgrade
I have to ask
and
this every week.
Pray at Night were terrible, so I can take those off.
I have
for
to
you.
ask this every week. What is The Ritual again?
It's the one where the guys go camping.
All right, get rid of The Ritual and put Predators in, and put Predators in at number 9 instead of The Ritual.
No, I'm just gonna bump Upgrade and put Ritual.
Damn it, Joe.
All right, fine.
You know what? I hope like someday this show won't exist anymore, but I'd like to still call you up and have you curate my top 10 list for the year, if that's right.
That you'll be keeping like for your kids.
It's become a very enjoyable part of the show for me.
The kids are gonna be like, your kids will be texting each other like, did fucking dad text you? Would he call you about his top 10 list again?
Why can't he figure out Google Docs?
I have like my best friend from back home. his father, from like when he was a kid, would make top 20 like music lists every week
Yeah.
because he thought it was fun, and he like just continued to do that like well on through his adult life, and like, I think did it for like 50,
So
60 years.
I have
Nice.
I know Casey does this to some extent, but I have a like a journal kind of thing. I don't really like a journal in it, but I just keep lists. I keep like important information, but I've also been keeping a list of like every movie I see with like a little 1 sentence review and.
Maybe if you read that, it would remind you what the ritual was.
It seems like
I'd have to go back and find it, but yeah.
It's not working.
yeah, I am not sure this is
Well,
working
not for
well.
now, but it's more like I think it'll be fun to look back on in like 20 years.
Yeah.
And with
Alright.
dates and like, oh, on this day I watched this. And
So you would not put this movie anywhere in your top 10?
I think that it's possible it could sneak on at the end of the year when I'm like reevaluating, but right now, like it's kind of interesting, but I'm not sure that it outweighs. There's a lot of good stuff this year.
Yeah.
I have a lot to catch up on, but like some of the stuff you have in there, I'm like, good God, there's no way I'm even gonna watch that. Let alone
Like what?
I don't know. Like, do I need to watch the Strangers movie? Is that really that good?
No, it's terrible, and it's definitely not making Eric's list, whether he likes it or not.
It's a really good. It basically feels like an '80s slasher sequel, and it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, I like the first Purge, but I don't know if it's gonna be. It might make my top 10 just because I don't see that many movies. But...
John, I don't know if this changes your mind or not, but Bill Pullman's son is in it.
Yeah, no, fair point.
Jesus.
We do have one more entry on SBGH, so very quickly, who has the greater seduction power? Nick Cage talking about planets, or Schnars talking about spreadsheets? I leave that to you all to decide.
Cage and planets.
I don't know. You ever heard John really talk about a spreadsheet?
Seriously, I love a good spreadsheet. So
Yeah. No, the planet. I actually really like the planets. The scene. We've talked about it a little. I like the whole beginning of this movie. The like dreamy kind of.
I do too.
I don't know.
But when
So-
John's all like, so I copied the cell attributes and then I pasted them onto another cell. I'm just saying.
that
Nothing.
was from Coy, by the way, at Pittman 1382.
What's another? That's really the only Excel lingo that I know.
Cell attribute? That was good. You got cell, and attribute is
Yeah.
passable. Like I'll allow it.
What's
pivot
the
tables.
what's the proper phrasing?
No, it's fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Formula is like the attribute, I guess.
Cell contents.
Yeah.
Copy paste. Do you want lines around those boxes? I can do that.
Oh, border? We might wanna go.
Oh man. All right. We're good here.
What if you just want one line around all the boxes? I can also do that. Or individually, John. Really, there's endless possibilities of how you can do that.
That's good.
I can
We
also
gotta bring you in. You could do some training.
I
at
can
our work.
also
This
print
would be
in
good.
either portrait or landscape mode. You know what I'm really good at? Printing a really long spreadsheet, but in the wrong orientation, so it prints out like 7,000 pages with everything cut off.
14 pages just have like 3 empty cells.
Why are you printing the spreadsheets to begin with? Are you reading them later? Like, what is happening?
Actually, I can't print right now at work. It's a whole thing. For the whole summer, I was making the intern print for me, but then he's gone.
Holy shit!
So now I
hey,
just-
for anyone who's interested in a stimulating internship, contact.
So
me.
now I just email people, which actually is like more environmentally friendly, John. I mean, what do you really need to print for? Is what I'm saying.
No, that's fair. Sure, you really saving some trees. You're putting poor Nick Cage out of work, though. Unfortunately.
Is he a printer?
No, he's a lumberjack.
Was he?
A lumberjack. Yeah.
I thought he was like
Yo,
a trucker.
I wish you were here earlier. I couldn't come up with the word lumberjack.
I thought he was like
It's
a trucker. Like I didn't even really pay attention to what he was. I just knew he had some job where he was away for a while and then he comes back.
I mean, I think like, or he was just hanging out in the woods watching other people cut down trees. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, the opening scene. Right.
Yeah.
Joe, BGH 5K.
yeah, BGH 5K happening October 27th and 28th. Details at bloodygoodhorror.com. We're doing a giveaway this weekend. I don't know if we talked about it at the top of the show, but Saturday all day, and I'll tweet and post on Facebook details. But we're adding to the BGH 5K playlist. So just tweet us or Facebook or post on Instagram what your favorite running song is and tag us with BGH 5K, and we'll pick a winner Saturday night.
All right. Love it. Running. It's fun. All right, guys. I don't know what we're doing next week, John. Do we decide? We're still up in the air?
We were talking about doing Beast. We're assuming you're unavailable, so we're gonna just plow ahead with that.
You never know.
There we go. All right.
All right, guys.
Godspeed.
It's gonna do it for Mandy. You might say that she came and left without giving. Is that what it is?
I think taking.
Taking,
But either
and
way.
giving, and taking, and
You did nothing.
printing
Mandy is
spreadsheets.
so fucking lazy. I
Yeah.
swear to God.
Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Go to hell, Mandy.
Bye bye.